Now is the time. A time you'll look back on. A time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time. This moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome. Take over. The time is now.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. I love that tune. I think that's tune class.
You didn't like that. You didn't like the other one I put on, though.
It was Yano. It was Yano.
Yeah.
Yano came straight back. Was like, what the hell is this? And to be fair, after the Liverpool loss, it kind of felt the mood a little bit. It hit the mood quite nicely.
Yeah, it was the acoustic version, but yeah, it just didn't work with the result as well. Yeah, so get rid of that. We'll move on. We'll move on from that.
That's it. Back to basics. Back to what we know. Everyone loves an upbeat tune, especially when we're on Lady Mag. That's for sure. But we're here. Cup final week. We are here.
It's mad. It's mad. From where we were, Pete, to now, and I know things have started to tail away a bit in the league, but we'll go back to that, and hopefully we can put a run together and put in a good solid run into the season. But yeah, it's all about the cup. Forget about the league. Forget about the form in the last little while. Anything can happen on cup final day.
We're a week away, but what are your emotions right now? Like, how are you feeling in the build up to it? We're obviously with 6 days to go.
Like last night's show, everyone seems to be positive. I'm definitely not as positive. Look, I got a bit of positivity from you guys, and all the talk about the formation and who could play where and the matchups stuff like that. I was like, yeah, we can do this. But then for me, sitting in Ireland, the two big challengers of most people I know that follow football are either Liverpool fans or Man United fans. So I get it in the ear no matter what. So like I got it in the ear straight away after the Liverpool result, and the same will happen, even worse if things go awry in the cup final. But that's what it's all about now. We have to. We're getting to these finals, and we were a million miles away from them just over a year ago. So let's start to enjoy them.
Definitely. And look, we've got a person in the back that's ready to come in that'll be very, very excited about this week coming up, and we'll get those questions in, no doubt. But just firstly, lots already in the chat, over 100 already. We've got Tom Dixon. Welcome to the chat, Paul Gallant, and thank you for sharing, Paul, as always. Really, really appreciate your support. Jules is in the house. Russ is in the house. Welcome, Russ. Lisa Mole is in the house. As always, our resident spanners, along with the likes of Gary, Kamal, Les Stapleton. Welcome all in the chat. Great to have you all. Georgia Team for Life is in there. Steve Coulson, and many more. And look, we know somebody that will be at the game on Sunday, and we'll get him in right now. And
has a ticket out here.
Yeah.
He's already celebrating in the green. Now he's waving in their face.
His hands are up. He's loving it. We'll get him in now. Newcastle Fans TV. Johnny, how you doing, Johnny?
I'm very good, gents. How are you?
All good, Johnny.
We saw that hand, that fist pump in the air. He's buzzing for it. Look, We'll quickly run past the Liverpool game. We won't spend too long on that because it's got final week, and that's what everyone wants to talk about. But look, just from I asked Daz a second ago, like, what was his emotions building to the final? Obviously, you get that old fist pump in the green room. You're clearly buzzing for it. But
I've got me ticket in my hand, boys. I've got me ticket.
Oh. He's doing. Oh God, they're like gold dust. You realise that's like the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory golden ticket. You realise how important that is right now. But no, look, just what are your emotions? Like 6 days away. I imagine the emotions for all of us might change over the course of next week. But what are your initial emotions right now in the building?
Excitement. It's Monday, but I want it to be Friday so I can get on the train and meet Sal and have a few beers, and then we're going down on the Saturday. So I've already got my plans sorted. It is still excitement. I know we'll touch about the Nick Pope situation later on. However, it is just general excitement. I think it's just, I'm glad it's now. I'm glad it's coming in. The last 3 games, yes, they've been important, but let's be honest. Ever since that final whistle against Southampton, everyone, at work, everyone's going, well, it's only 2 weeks till Wembley. It's only 10 days till Wembley. It's only this amount of time till Wembley. And I know we had a big game on Saturday against Liverpool for the top 4. But it was like, oh, it's only Liverpool. We'll go back to Premier League stuff after the game against Manchester United. But I'm glad it's here. I'm glad it's this weekend. But it could be the best week of many Newcastle fans' lives in terms of the football side of things, because this time next week we could be outside Newcastle doing a parade.
Yeah,
and that just tells you how close we are. I don't think the realisation has hit Newcastle fans to actually realise what we're on the cusp of. I think it's more the fact, we get to go to Wembley, we get to see a shiny new stadium, we get to play in a final. But I don't think many people have kind of realised, if we win, we've won a trophy. Our trophy drought has ended. We're not going to get crap off other teams' fans saying that we haven't won a trophy and this, that and the other. That's over. That is over on Sunday. When? I'm going to be positive when we beat Manchester United. I'm not having these ifs when we beat Manchester United. So, yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now. But it's going to be a very, very difficult game. Of course it is. But I can't wait. Can't wait to go down Wembley way.
Definitely. And look, I think you'll start to really feel it when you walk down Wembley way and you're there and you're going into the turnstiles and you come out into the stadium. Obviously, myself and Daz won't be there, but we can only imagine that.
We're there in spirit.
Yeah, we'll be there in spirit, no doubt. And you can only imagine the feeling. And look, I went to Wembley. I've been to Wembley to watch Newcastle, but it was against Tottenham in the league when they were using Wembley Stadium, and it was great to be there to watch Newcastle play in Wembley. But a final, an FA Cup, a cup final, a Carabao Cup, any type of final like that, it will be very, very different. But do you guys think, and I'll put this question to both of you, do you guys think that the excitement and the feeling around this final is because we see Man United as a team that we can actually beat? In comparison, you go back to 98, 99, you got the Arsenal team, who were outstanding team, the best in the country at that particular time. 99, you had Man United, who ended up going on to win the treble that season. But this Man United team is a little bit different this time. Do you think that's why there's a different feeling in the fan base at the moment? Dad, I'll come to you.
Perhaps it's not a Man City in the final, but we could beat Man City on the day as well. We can beat anyone on our day if everything falls into place. The whole Nick Pope thing is throwing a bit of a spanner in the works, but you are that bit more positive that it's Man United and not Man City. At the same time, Man United are not the same Man United they were at the start of the season, where Ronaldo was there and he kicking up a fuss, and they were just getting their stuff together. Really, they have they're playing okay these days, and Rashford's on fire. Casemiro will be back. It's not going to be an easy game. It's going to be very, very close. But to answer your question, yes, maybe. I'll give you a maybe, Pete.
No, and I think that's fair. Johnny Dazza said, Man United are playing well at the moment, and they are. They're scoring goals. They've got Rashford playing really well, but they do have a tendency to have an off game. Against Leeds, for example, they weren't great the other week. So, do you think that maybe is why Newcastle fans are feeling a lot more confident in this final compared to previous years?
I think there's a couple of reasons why Newcastle fans in general will feel a little bit more confident. There's a team called Barcelona. I don't suppose you've ever heard of them, but they play Man United on Thursday. And to be fair, you literally could have gone, let's handpick somebody for Man United to face on Thursday and, potentially play 120 minutes if everything goes according to plan. It would be them. And maybe one or two other clubs, but that's one big reason. The fact they've got to play 2.5 days before they play at us. That is massive. That is huge, a massive advantage. I would still say that Manchester United are slight favourites. And my reason is Marcus Rashford. It's as simple as that. He's got something that we don't have right now. He scores goals. He takes his chances. How many times have we been saying for the last few weeks, didn't take with chances. Especially the West Ham game, we had chances. Liverpool game, we had chances as well. I know we got beat 2-0. I know we'll probably discuss bits and bobs, but he's the difference. He is the difference. The only difference that I see with Manchester United and Newcastle is the fact that Rashford can potentially just turn it on. But this isn't Manchester United from 20 years ago when we were fighting for the title. This Manchester United does have weaknesses. I still think that it is crucial that Alan St-Maximin starts on the left-hand side because I think he can win the game for us. I don't think we have many other players in this squad, in this team, that can win us the game, but I think he can win us the game, and I think that could be the difference. But yeah, to answer your question, Pete, there is excitement because it is a different type of Manchester United, and the fact they've got to play Barcelona 2 days before. The only negative of that is that it wasn't at the Camp Nou. It was at Old Trafford. If it was at the Camp Nou this Thursday, not that the trophy's in our name or anything like that, but you would feel a little bit more confident. But if Marcus Rashford is feeling his hamstring after 60, 70 minutes, and that means he's definitely not playing, that would be amazing. But it's not going to be easy. But Newcastle have got a fantastic chance, even if it is against a team that are in form right now.
Yeah, I have to agree, and yeah, I do wish they were going to the Camp Nou on Thursday. That's for sure. But look, I think all Newcastle fans are praying for 120 minutes on Thursday, and I for one will definitely be watching that very, very closely and hoping for any sort of twinge from any player. I'll take anything right now that can help us along the way. But look, just Craig Lee put a comment on just a second ago. He put Man United are beatable. I'd feel a lot more confident if Bruno hadn't missed the last 3 games at the same time. Bar Pope, we have a full squad to pick from for the first time this season. And it's a great point. It's a point that we guys talked about on the show last night about the fact that we do actually have Bar Pope and maybe Willock. We don't know about that yet. But other than that, we have a full squad to choose from. We know that Kraft's out long term. So it is a really, really interesting one. That's for sure. But I think we have Daz, do we have a special guest in the chatters tonight? We have a new chatter.
We do, yeah. No one knows who this guy is. They're all kind of confused. You might know, Johnny. It's a guy called Sam from Newcastle Fans TV. Hi, lads. Long-time watcher, first-time commenter. Where can I hear more from Johnny? Maybe on a weekly basis every Tuesday. That would be available on all podcast apps. Ever heard of him?
Do you know what it is? He just loves the limelight. He doesn't like anybody else having the limelight. We've got a little nickname for Sam. We call him Sky Sports Sam now. You see, because any time you see Sky Sports News on in January or the summer, you just go, "Fucking hell, he's there again." You know what I mean? Like he just wants the limelight. But he's obviously talking about. I would call it the Greenwood show, but he wants his name in it as well. So we'll talk. It's the Greenwood and Milner show. It's obviously the podcast we've been doing since lockdown. So that tells you how long it's been, nearly 3 years. And we've had over, we should be by end of play Wednesday, have 135th show. We've had shows with Newcastle legends like Warren Barton, Stephen Taylor. We've had, I have to say the late, great Christian Atsu now, which is just a real shame as well. But it's been, I really, really enjoy it. It's Sam's idea. That's enough credit we're giving Sam Moon on this show. This is the loaded Newcastle HQ channel. This is not the Sam Milner show. If you want that, you go on Sky Sports News. So we'll leave it at that. But make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Simple as that.
Well, just to tie into that, it might be a good time for me to put this question to you, Johnny. And I think Sam will enjoy this.
I don't know what this is, by the way.
I just had a memory from the last time you were on the show. But Johnny, would you class yourself as a betting man? I know Sam is definitely a betting man. Would you class yourself as a betting man?
I like the odd bet from occasion, depending how good the odds are.
We don't have to go any further. Mate, I'll ask the question after this. I'll play this bit first.
What are your thoughts on all of this, guys?
I just want
what are your honest thoughts?
My honest thoughts on this. If this takeover was going to happen, it would have happened April 2020 when the Premier League had it in his hands. There's no chances, in my opinion. I don't know anything, but for what I've seen and what I've read, this is not going to happen. If it was going to happen, it would have happened in April 2020. I think people are holding on to Amanda Staveley doing interviews with TalkSport, and she's a woman with the people. Why do that? If you're so confident of getting a takeover done, you don't do interviews with Sky Sports, TalkSport, and ITV Time Tees. That TalkSport interview was an absolute disaster. You literally had Jim White and Simon Jordan on a plate asking you questions and got into a debate. You don't have to do that if you're so confident about a takeover being done. If Amanda Staley can't get this done by herself, she hasn't got the money. She hasn't got the money to do it. She needs help. She try to get the Saudis in. For whatever reason, the Premier League are just as guilty for being absolute dickheads. To put it out there.
There's definitely dodgy dealings going on, isn't there?
Of course there is, and it's just frustrating. I want to take over just as much as the next person.
Now this is what we've been waiting for. Newcastle fans singing arm in arm with beers, bottles, cans, everything. It's been a long 14 years, but this is what's over. He's out of our club! That fat cockney bastard! He's out of our club! I could have put it better myself. You know, we've been waiting a long time for this. And the smiling faces. I know there's a song about all the smiling faces, but I think it seems appropriate tonight. Newcastle fans are celebrating with the Roy Robson statue. I'm sure he'd be watching thinking, Newcastle United are back. Look at it. So many shakes, there's a football in the air, and just above us, war flags. They're back. They're back.
It seems like we've lost Johnny for some reason. I can't find Johnny. If you see him, Johnny, you're back. Sam, you owe me a point, Sam.
That was class. Absolutely.
No. Look, at that point in time, no one knew what the hell was happening. It was funny. I just remember that 12 days later, then of course the takeover went through. But back to the question, Johnny, is red or black? Red or black on Sunday?
No comment. Well played. To be honest with you, I don't know how much Sam has paid you to clip that up, so I'll find out after. But no, fair play. Do you know what it was? It was just, I think it was just before the Watford game we did that video. And do you know what it was? It just shows you where this football club was. I'd have taken a point against Watford at Vicarage Road, and they were near the bottom, going for the same kind of position as us. But I just didn't feel like there was any confidence. To be fair, I was right. To be fair, Amanda Staley couldn't have done it by herself. You had to get the Saudis to help her. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably the only thing I got right, but I got that bit right. But no, I could never have seen that. I think you, unless you're Amanda Staley or somebody in the Premier League that knew this deal was coming close. I don't think many people at all knew what was going on, and I think, you know, I still remember the day we got taken over. Literally, I don't think I've told this story many times, but the day that the news broke, remember that Wednesday lunchtime, Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah.
So I was actually, I was on sabbatical at work. I had a month off, and I was meeting a friend in town. So from my house to town's around about 7 or 8 miles, and I was doing some preparation for a charity walk. So we're doing the Northumberland Coastal Path. So it's like 60 miles over 3 days. So I thought, well, I'll walk to town and just kind of get used to like the long walking. So to get through to town, when you get to the corner house near Jesmond, you've got to kind of go past Jesmond Dean House. So I'm walking past Jesmond Dean House with me headphones and not thinking about anything really. Noticing that it's there, but not noticing any cameras or anything like that at all. I'm thinking, and I look back now, Amanda Staley, me and Dad could do see probably some reporters are in there. And I'm just walking past it on the day, and within about an hour and a half after, there was a couple of little rumbles about it being obviously the TV issue being resurrected and it's all sorted, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. But look, it just shows. Was it 16 months ago? God, I tell you what, it's amazing.
Yeah, we kind of started to get excited once those names were listed on that flight manifest, and it was like there was a lot of things adding up together then, and yeah, we did the show the night before the takeover, and we had Ben Jacobs on, and at that stage it was happening, you know, it was just an official. We just needed official confirmation, but yeah. Unbelievable. And yeah, you're right, we're all on the same opinion at that stage. We thought, okay, we're just clinging to straws that it was still there, and you were brave enough to say no, it's not happening. Like we were, but just the way it worked out.
It's Mike Ashley though. Like, let's be honest, no one trusted a word he said, and no one kind of. My theory was at the time with Amanda Staley doing these interviews, and look, I'm wrong now, and I don't mind saying times when you don't get it right, you say you don't get it right. But I just didn't kind of get why she was doing those interviews when she couldn't really put too much pressure on the Premier League at the time, in my opinion. I think there was a process. They had to take the time. But obviously there must have been a conversation behind closed doors going, look, if you sort this out as in PIF, if you can sort this out, it's done. It's as simple as that. It's done. And now obviously do you know, I think it still feels mad that we're the richest club in the world and we've not had Mike Ashley in charge of our football club for nearly 18 months. I still feel like it's a dream that I'm going to wake up and going, you know, someone like Sam Allardyce is going to be our manager, and we've still got, you know, players like Fabrice Pancrat and bloody Shul Ramiobi and stuff like that. Like I just feel like it's something like that's going to happen. But look, I'm so glad we've got Bruno Guimaraes and Kieran Trippier and, you know, Alexander Isak, for example. But yeah, brilliant.
The question I've got is from that clip that you showed us, like, first off, like, I must have been taking tips from Chris because I look like I'm in bed. I've got the cushion behind me. I'm like relaxed. I feel like I'm good.
I think your back was sore. I think you were on medication for your back or something.
Oh, was that when I did? Oh, wow.
Could be.
Oh.
Could have been.
Yeah, no. It was around that time. That I did my back in. But
I heard about that as well. Actually, about your back. Apparently, you've been carrying a few of the lads on this channel. Is that what it was?
No.
Those aren't here tonight.
Never. Oh my God,
allegedly.
Never. But like, Daz, your hair.
Yeah.
Where was it back then?
Yeah. I think I got a haircut the day before by the looks of it. Yeah. It's going back though.
I thought we were still in lockdown. But no, that was a great clip, guys. Top stuff for that. That's for sure. And to be fair, I think it was Craig Lee. I'm just going to borrow the comments just for 1 second. Craig Lee puts, just as we're watching that video, in those clips, imagine what the place would be like on Sunday night. And look, obviously there's so many Geordies that are travelling down to London and going to be a part of the scenes over the course of the weekend, like yourself, Johnny. I'll be heading down on Sunday as well with Chris. But you imagine the city, if we win, like it'll be like that. And then some, because you're going to have all the Newcastle fans that are travelling back up that are probably going to go from the train station up to the stadium and probably join everyone else. And the partying will probably carry on, if not through the night, into the rest of the week. And Daz, you're absolutely right. I think I'm not sure if that was yourself or Johnny that mentioned about the potential trophy parade if we win. You know what I mean? You've got that to come from on the Monday and beyond in that point. And I think, it'll just be unbelievable. It really, really will. Cannot wait for all the possibilities. And you're right, Johnny, because we should stay positive, 100%. But just firstly, over 180 in the chat. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching All Things Loading Mag NUFC. If you haven't already, click the like button. Only takes a second to do. If you've not put your questions in for Johnny and myself and Daz, make sure you do so. And of course, whilst you're there, click that subscribe button. There's one or two that we've seen that are new to the channel tonight, including our man Sam that was new to the chat. Click that subscribe button, come and join the Loaded family as well. And whilst you're there, go and search up Newcastle Fans TV and give them a subscribe too. And like I'm sure Johnny will talk about it shortly, that you'll have lots of content coming up over the course of this week, and we'll let you get that out as we're going along. Right. Any questions we can hit for Johnny after that? Maybe not any that maybe get him hiding again, but
there's one that might. That's why I'm reluctant to go for that one. But there's one from David Cook, and I'm sure we get into the squad selection. I suppose we might start with this and kind of broaden that one then, and it's from starter Wilson or Isak.
Ooh, good question.
If it's what Eddie Howe will do, it's going to be Callum Wilson, in my opinion. I've got the team kind of sorted in my head. I kind of worked it out last night, when maybe this morning. I was just kind of thinking about it on my way into work. I think Callum Wilson starts. I would probably... It's such a tough one. I'd probably start Callum Wilson myself. I think Callum Wilson can give you something 60, 65 minutes in. And say we're drawing, or it's a close game, or even if we're winning by a goal, I think Alexander Isak is the perfect man to bring on with 20, 25 minutes and even extra time. I understand the glamour of Alexander Isak, and I thought he played well on Saturday from what I've seen. I thought he made some really good runs. I didn't think he was really bothered about the fact that it was Virgil van Dijk he was up against, and Joe Gomez, and you got to remember them two played the majority of that season at Liverpool, got 99 points and walked the league, let's be honest. So he played well against Liverpool at Anfield. I don't think I've ever seen a much better day from a Newcastle player. He should have had 2 goals. That goal that was offside wasn't offside. I've seen it again and again and again, and that goal is not offside when you see what Marcus Rashford scored against Leicester and that second goal. So I'm not having it. But I would start Wilson for the first 60, 65 minutes. I would say to him, do as much as you physically can. And I think, especially early on, if you get that one chance, I just think Wilson's a little bit more deadly. And I think that maybe we should just let him play as long as he physically can. And then you've got Isak, considering that Man United have got to play Barcelona. They might make subtle changes. They might put Luke Shaw at centre-half. They might put Harry Maguire at centre-half. Like, they could potentially do that depending on what happens on that Thursday night. I think Isak would love it. I think he would love that chance, half an hour end. To be fair, he would stretch the game. It goes an extra dimension as well. But I actually would be surprised if Isak starts. I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be negatively surprised, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think he's done well since he's come in? Obviously, he played against Bournemouth because Wilson was injured, or he had a hamstring complaint. He's then played again against or he started again against Liverpool. What have you made from his last 2 performances, like when he has been given the chance to start from the beginning?
I thought he played well on Saturday, considering the circumstances. We saw what happened. But my only issue with Isak this weekend needs to get those chances on target, especially the one in the second half early on when Maxi finds him in the box.
Yeah.
When he has that shot and turn, I know it's a difficult shot, but you've got to get that on target. You know, if a keeper makes a save, got to get a shot on target. You've got to make him work, because Alisson is one of, if not the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, depending on who you talk to, and you've got to try and make him work. I do think he links up really, really well with Alan St-Maximin. I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how well how them two link up. I think Bournemouth, he wasn't as effective. I think he should have had a shot early in it was probably midway through the first half, where he was kind of through almost, but he got taken away from goal, and it just didn't really work out for him against Bournemouth. But not many players played well against Bournemouth, let's be honest. Nick Pope made a couple of good saves. Kieran Trippier cleared one off the line. So let's be honest, no one played brilliantly against Bournemouth. But considering the fact he's had a big injury, he still finds chances. If he can get one or two away in a row, like he has scored a few goals so far anyway. I think the goal against Fulham did him the world of good, because it was a simple goal. It was a striker's instinct, and we've seen him playing as a 10. We could see him playing with Callum Wilson. I don't see that happening this weekend, of course, but it's another dimension that Eddie Howe can use. He can play the 4-2-3-1 and trust Isak in as number 10 as well, because he is great when he carries the ball. I think he only lost the ball once that I can remember against Liverpool, but I'll throw it back to you. I think Alexander Isak is certainly one for the future. Of course, he is. It's a big price tag, but I'm excited with the glimpses that we've seen so far, because imagine if he has 10 games with Bruno in the team.
Yeah,
he's going to get goals. Simple as that.
Yeah. Go on, Daz.
Sorry, but no, I was just gonna. We kind of talked through it last night. We kind of agreed collectively, our team. We had the Tune Review crew on as well. Do you want to throw it up, Pete, or where were you going to go to next?
Yeah, I'll grab it 1 second. Just bear with me. It's always available, Daz. You know that.
I know. You have that. You sleep with that beside you, I think. That little pitch.
So it's literally where we left it last night. So this is where I did put all the Man United team up just because I couldn't be bothered to change all the names. But this was kind of the team that we had, that we kind of set ourselves on before we left. I mean, we moved players around as alternatives. Obviously, Johnny, from your perspective, you not Willock, you had Wilson here. Obviously, we've gone with Isak in there, but I can see why. And actually, to coin a phrase put in the chat earlier, I think I might have started Daz actually, but he put start Wilson in case it goes to extra time. And it almost feeds in a little bit to what you've been saying, Johnny, and maybe you're thinking exactly the same, is that if the game's still going at 60 minutes and we're still in it, whether we're 1-0 up or it's 0-0 or 1-1 or we're 1-0 down chasing the game, you bring someone like Isak on full of energy. Do you come in and play him off the left and take ASM off, or do you play him up top with and replace Wilson, or do you play like one or two have said? I think Sydney said it. Play both, and do you then sacrifice a Longstaff and go, you know what, we're chasing the game or we're looking for it. Let's play it like this, and you've got Isak to play either round. What do you guys think off the back of that? Could that be a possibility as to why maybe is that look, Johnny? Is that in your mind what you're thinking about with regards to not starting Isak?
I just think that I think Wilson's better to start. I just think Wilson's better to start this game. I get the whole Isak conundrum start getting, he's probably a bit more fresh. He's played a few games in a row. Wilson obviously didn't play against Bournemouth, only played half an hour against Liverpool. I think that's what Eddie Howe will do. I just think Eddie Howe will start with Wilson. I really do. I think not that he doesn't trust Isak, but I think he trusts Wilson more in a final, in a big game. Wilson has got experience playing for England. He can handle these big game atmospheres. Not saying Isak can't, but I just think that's what Newcastle will do. That is the team I'd go with, by the way. That from what I can see there, Joe Linton has to start. To start. I can understand. Do you play him off the left? Do you play him in the middle? You play Joe Linton in his best position. His best position is midfield. What was the first game that we all stood up and looked and thought, hold on a sec, have we found the position for Joe Linton? I know he started it against Norwich, but the game that he kind of made it was Manchester United at home just after Christmas, and that was the game that you stay there, and if we need to play on the left, we do. My only not concern, but my only talking point when you look at Manchester United is the right back position. And I don't think this gets mentioned enough. You've got Diogo Dalot playing right back. I hope it's Diogo Dalot. And the reason why I say that, I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka defensively is a lot stronger than Diogo Dalot. And if you look at Alan St-Maximin against Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka has probably more in his locker to cope with Alan St-Maximin. Alan St-Maximin needs to have a worldie, because if he does, and he plays like he did against Manchester City, it doesn't really matter which fullback you put in. It's going to be a difficult one. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka defensively is more solid. Going forward, he's not really a threat. I know he scored against Newcastle, ironically, a couple of years ago. But you want Dalot to start because you can get ASM to go at him. Defensively, not as strong. Could win free kicks in dangerous areas. Could create goals. Could score goals. And I think I hope Dalot's playing. I hope Dalot's playing from that side of things. If Wan-Bissaka is playing, it's more of an even contest. But Joe Linton has to start midfield. I'll be amazed if he starts on the left-hand side. But it's a fascinating one. I think that I'll throw it back to yourselves on this one, because Joe Willock's an interesting one. He trusts Joe Willock. He loves Joe Willock. And if he does love Joe Willock and Willock is fit and says, look, I'm ready, I'm 100% fit, or as close to 100% as possible, I think Howe's starting on. I don't think Maxi starts on the left-hand side. And I think Joe Linton gets moved across there. But I think if you do that, you're asking Joe Linton to do a lot of work on the left-hand side defensively. You're asking Miggy to do a lot of work on the right-hand side defensively. Where do we get chances from? Where do we get goals from?
Yeah, I suppose it's all links up to what is Eddie Howe's preferred 1 to 11. He's not going to have the choice of Pope, obviously, but yeah, and there is a good combination and link up between Joe Linton and Willock, in the same way with Trippier and Miron down the other side, really the other flank. But yeah, ASM is playing like in bringing on Willock, you're dropping ASM there, I imagine, Johnny.
Well, I think that's what Howe would do. Yeah. He's not dropping Almiron. He's not dropping Longstaff. He's certainly not dropping Bruno after being 3 games out. We need Bruno. Yeah. Bruno's the first name on the team sheet.
Exactly.
I'd have been more disappointed if Bruno got sent off against Liverpool. If he played against Liverpool, than I would be with Pope. I think that's how important Bruno Guimaraes is. We haven't won a game this season without Bruno Guimaraes. That tells the significance of him as a player in this team. He just makes the game tick for us. Fake Bruno, yeah, 100%. He is the fake Bruno Fernandes. He's a little rat. I hate watching him. When you always see him, and you'll see him on Sunday when he plays against Newcastle, whinging these little tits off, and it'll be, honestly, I hate him. Absolutely hate watching him. But no, it's Bruno's fresh as a daisy. Casemiro's going to be playing this on Sunday if he doesn't get injured on Thursday. You know, he's in his 30s. Yes, he's played unbelievably well for Manchester United this season, but how fresh can you be if you're in your early 30s and playing against Barcelona 2 or 3 days before? My only caveat is, and I know Rashford is playing on the left-hand side at the minute. I think Anthony probably starts on the right-hand side for Manchester United, because I think we'll try and get at Burn. But it's play. Yeah, I just think Manchester United are looking and going, well, I don't think Salah completely ruined Dan Burn on the weekend. I thought Burn did okay against him, but there was a couple of times where the pace just shone, and I just think if Anthony's got any sort of pace, I know he's not going to be as quick as Salah, but if he's got any sort of pace that can frighten Dan Burn, I think Manchester United will try and do that. I dealt with it at Old Trafford, though. Yeah, he did do very well at Old Trafford. He did do very well. 2 times in the game. Obviously, I think you were there as well, were you, Johnny? Not at Old Trafford. I wasn't. No, I wasn't at Old Trafford. I've actually got a weird thing with Old Trafford, and this is going to sound so stupid. And tell me if I'm stupid. Actually, go for it. I've only seen Newcastle play Manchester United once at Old Trafford. We won. It was the game that Carabao scored the winner, right? I don't, and this is going to sound so sad. I don't want to spoil it, Because how likely is it that Newcastle are going to beat Manchester United again at Old Trafford? That's why it's so stupid. But that's why I never go to Man United away anymore. But different story.
And it like in a couple of years' time, or from next year onwards, it might be a little bit different. But look, it's Anthony got past Burn a couple of times, but Burn was able to recover. But in the main, he dealt with him really well, and Botman came along a number of times and dealt with that situation. So yeah, absolutely fine from that perspective. Interesting that you brought up Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because Darlow likes to get forward and he's got good delivery into the box. You saw that on Sunday against Leicester. He can whip those balls in. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a better defender, but he is trying to get himself forward. But the one thing about Aaron Wan-Bissaka is his recovery runs are shocking. So I for one, I hope that he plays, because I do think ASM playing the way that he did against Liverpool can get the better of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Aaron Wan-Bissaka loves players to come down this side of the pitch because this is where he's strongest, on his right foot. He loves defending there. What he hates is someone cutting inside here, because he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to track a player there, and that's where he gives a lot of free kicks away. So someone like ASM, if he jinks left, jinks right, he doesn't know what to do, I think he's got the better. To be fair, I think he's got the beating of both on Sunday. If he can play like he played against Liverpool, he's got the beating of both. There's no doubt about it. But I think he'd get more joy from Aaron Wan-Bissaka, just because he just does not like to get back and track back in. Dalot is probably better at that, but maybe not as good a defender as Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So there's pluses and negatives to it all, but I think Alan Saint-Maximin can get the better of him. And then we talked about this last night. I think Almiron can get the better of Shaw as well. And Shaw is very good getting forward, and will cause problems getting forward, so we have to be careful about that, especially if Rashford's here. But yeah, I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I think I want him, and I said it last night, I want him, Joe Linton, smashing him, and wherever Casemiro is. Casemiro probably be this number 6 here. I won't put his name in for now. But these two, I want him smashing these two to bits on a Sunday. I don't care if he takes a yellow card for it later on in the game, but I just want him smashing them to bits, because they will not like it at all. And it gives Bruno the opportunity to play football. But look, I think that could well be the team. It is the question for me about this. Willock, I think if he's going to start, he's going to have to train from tomorrow onwards if he's going to make the final. He needs a full or close to a full week of fitness. It's not going to be one like Wilson, for example. And it was a point that was made last night, actually, by Yano, in that Wilson only trained one day before the game against Liverpool. So people saying that he wasn't sharp, there was a reason why he wasn't sharp, because he'd only played one game. He'd only had one training session before the game. But Willock, if you're going to put him into a final at Wembley, big pitch, got to cover a lot of ground, he can do it. But if he's not 100% fit, I won't risk him.
And of course, that's where he's at his best, as coming on as a sub and being an impact player. Look at when that's the reason we bought him. That run he went on, so it could be the best place for him.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one. Just going back onto the Alan Saint-Maximin versus Manchester United's right back debate. I think obviously, I think you're right. I'm not saying either of them two are world class right backs. I think there's a lot stronger right backs in the Premier League for one. But I just think Alan Saint-Maximin over Diogo Dalot. Yes, ASM will have to do more defensive work. He's going to have to, because he'll need to get support for Dan Burn. I just think Wan-Bissaka, I don't know. I just think defensively he is very, very strong. I'm not saying he's a world beater by any stretch of the imagination, but he needs a few tricks in his locker, as Alan Saint-Maximin, because he will have the beating of him. He will get the beating of him once or twice if he does start. I think the only issue from Eddie Howe's point of view is that I think he'll obviously watch that Manchester United game on Thursday against Barcelona. But I don't think he'll know. Because I don't think Eric Ten Hag knows what his team's going to be on Sunday, because you've still got the likes of Malacia, who could possibly come in at left back and Shaw can move across, or he could just literally go Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire at centre half, sacrifice Varane and Martinez, who I would expect them to start against Barcelona because they were rested the other day. Well, Varane certainly was because of his age. The midfield, Casemiro probably starts because he didn't play against Leicester. As long as he doesn't get injured, he starts. Bruno Fernandes starts every game. It's either probably Fred or McTominay. But again, that three in midfield, it's a good matchup. Yeah. And I think it's nearly as big as Trippier versus Rashford if he plays. If our midfield beats their midfield and we keep Rashford quiet, I think we take a trophy back to Newcastle. I think it's as simple as that. I think people need to remember we've only lost to the same team once this season. We've only lost one. Like Liverpool, the only team to beat us in the Premier League this season. We've conceded 15 goals in 23 Premier League matches so far this season. Yes, it was a defeat on Saturday night, but let's be honest, it's still a tough game. You know, Liverpool have obviously got some good players in the locker. They've got a bit of confidence after beating Everton on the Monday night. So let's be honest. Let's remember who we're actually up against. But I can't stop looking at that Rashford versus Trippier battle because let's be honest, gents, if Trippier can handle him and keep him quiet and he doesn't score, you'd fancy your chances, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It's times like this, Pete, that I often ask myself, what would Newcastle World's best journalist out there think of this formation, and what would he do anything different? If only he was here to answer that question. Welcome, Jordan.
Evening, lads. How you doing?
All good, my man. You okay?
Yeah, good. Sorry for the. I think I'm about 55 minutes late, so apologies. But
second half.
Better late than never. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that there. No worries. You're here, and that's the most important thing. And look, myself, Daz, Johnny, we've just been having a discussion about the potential lineup and how it might look on Sunday. Now, the formation and the setup for Newcastle's team that you can see on the screen, Jordan, is what Johnny thinks it might be. He's gone for Wilson over Isak, with the potential of Isak coming on later on in the game and making a difference. What do you think about that particular setup for Newcastle? Do you agree with it? Would you change anything? Bearing in mind, right at the top, you've got Murphy, Target, Willock, potentially if he's fit, Anderson and Isak to come off the bench. Does that seem about right to you?
Yeah, so I mean, the St. Maximin debate's obviously a big one because I thought he played very well against Liverpool. Liverpool will be, they were down to 10 men. I thought he was the main sort of attacking threat, the main guy that was trying to push Newcastle on, and I thought he had a really good link-up play with Alexander Isak. But for me, I wouldn't start either of them because you look at you've got the Manchester United team on the screen there, and you look at their attacking threats. Rashford obviously being one of the most informed players in Europe. Anthony, I think Manchester United are probably stronger if Sancho plays down that side. But what Newcastle have done well this season is they've been defensively solid. And through that, they've had Joe Willock, if he's fit, plays in the centre, and you have Joe Linton on the left-hand side. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't start St. Maxim. I think there's a lot of pros to starting St. Maxim because he is that big game player. But the system and the players that have served Newcastle so well this season is Joe Linton being on that left-hand side, linking up with Willock, because it just gives them that defensive solidity. So that's what I think they need to do. I don't know if Willock will be fit. I think going off Eddie Howe's comments last week, I'm presuming he probably will be. Because he made a point to say that it wasn't as bad as what we first thought. His hamstring injury, so that would be my only change to that team. Yeah,
it's interesting.
Probably hard from St. Maximin, but I just think, as I say, you look at the team that Newcastle have played this season, and it's been a regular start 11 with Joe Linton on the left, and they've been defensively solid. And I think in a game against Manchester United, where Manchester United are probably going to be the dominant force in that game, if you want. Probably harsh to say that on Newcastle because, look, there's not much between the teams in the league. But I think over the last couple of weeks, month or so, you've seen Manchester United really excel, and Newcastle have hit a bit of a lull. So I think we've got to be really wary of that, and I think we've got to go back to that defensive solidity that has served the team so well and got them to this stage, and that includes Joe Linton on the left and Joe Willock in the middle.
Interesting, boys. Your thoughts on that. I mean, it's tried and tested, isn't it? Let's face it, and that's what Jordan. That's what you've alluded to. It is tried and tested. It's won matches for Newcastle United. That's for sure.
Sorry, guys, add something there, Pete, as well. If that's all right. I just think if you get an hour in a game, and the prospect of bringing the likes of an Alexander Isak and St. Maxim off the bench is also massive. I don't say if you start Isak and Wilson's the guy that comes on. It might be doing a little bit of a disservice to Wilson, but I don't think Wilson's an impact player. I think he's more of a starter. So I just think it gets to a stage of any game if Newcastle are winning and losing, to bring them two players on to get them up the field, or they're pushing for an equaliser or whatever, trying to get back in the game. I think that's a big prospect to have as well. So that's another sort of reason as to why I would start with Wilson and leave the likes of St. Maxim and Isak on the bench.
Boys, do you agree with that, Johnny? Daz, what do you think?
It's hard to disagree. You can't say that's not a good case, because that 11 that you've got on your screen right now has done fantastic. It's been unbeaten for a large spell of the season. It's been the ready-made 11. Everyone was like, that's the 11 we're going to go with. It's an interesting one, because Joe Linton for me has been in fantastic form. His strongest position is midfield, and I just think he offers you so much in that middle of the park. And the only thing is, we've not really seen him and Bruno in the middle too much this season, not even for many games at all this season, because of the fact of how well Sean Longstaff and Joe Willock have been. But we've seen when we haven't had Bruno and Joe Linton's had to move into the middle of midfield, he's still been solid. I definitely take Jordan's opinion on the Alan St. Maximum debate. Alan St. Maximum and Alexander Isak off the bench. Manchester United will be thinking, I don't want that. But ASM is a match winner for us on his day. I allude to the fact that Manchester City game was probably his best performance in a Newcastle shirt. 3 assists on the day. Well, I say 3 assists, 2 assists, and winning the free kick, which is almost an assist for Kieran Trippier. Let's be honest, but he is a match winner for us. If he plays well and plays really well, Newcastle do well in the game. Let's be honest. I don't think Eddie Howe would have picked his 11 until Man United played Barcelona, because it depends on who is missing for Manchester United. If Manchester United go and play 120 minutes and someone gets an injury, like a big player gets injured, I know, I think Dad has got his fingers crossed for all day on Thursday night. But I think it generally just depends on what Eddie Howe has seen on that Thursday night and what he thinks is best. But I think we can talk about who plays X, Y, and Z. We've all alluded to it. Marcus Rashford is in so much form for Manchester United right now. If we can stop him, it doesn't. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter who we put in the team, but if you stop him and he has a quiet game, Newcastle do well in the game. It's as simple as that. But look, if that's the team on Sunday, I'm certainly not disappointed by it, because it doesn't lose. I don't think that 11 has lost this season, because they didn't play against Liverpool at all in the Premier League this season. So hopefully that continues if that's the 11. But look, everyone will have different opinions. That's why supporting Newcastle's hard work.
Go on, Dash. Go for it.
Sorry, Pete. No, for me, my comments on it. It's 2 changes. I can see the logic that Jordan has portrayed here, and I could see that Eddie Howe would go with that as well. But the 2 changes are Isak and Wilson, and Willock and ASM. But I'm accepting one of the changes. I'm not accepting the other. So I'm accepting the logic of now starting with Wilson and having Isak as a impact player, right? But I still think I would have ASM on, and I'd put Joe Linton into midfield and ASM, just because he's the game against Liverpool, and he's been building up to a good game, and people are saying in the chat as well, he loves the big games. He did it against Man City as well, so it's all built up for ASM. Now he could still make a massive impact by coming off the bench, but I think having Willock on the bench, and that's, as we said a few minutes ago, how he's best player for us is when he was an impact player coming off the bench. So that the way that is now, that's what I'd go with, because you have Isak and Willock as the impacts.
Jordan, you've thrown a spanner in the works there, because I think most people, including me, I didn't think that Willock would have a chance of being fit. And just before you came on, I said if Willock is to play on Sunday, he would probably have to start training tomorrow, in my opinion. I think you need a full week of training. I don't think playing him or having 1 day's training on maybe a Friday or even a Saturday before a big cup final, first cup final in 24 years, I don't think it's the right decision. But, if it is like Wilson, because Wilson came on and played 20 odd minutes and looked sharp. Some people said he didn't look sharp, but he looked sharper than I thought he would be, considering he'd only had 1 training session. I think that, I can see the logic in playing that, because it is tried and tested. I just think after the performance against Liverpool, I think it would just be really harsh on ASM, and the points that Johnny and Daz made, it would be he is ASM is the match winner, that's for sure. But actually, you guys said about Joe Linton on the left and Willock in the midfield, but there's been a number of people in the chat tonight that have put Willock on the left being able to carry the ball long distances. We saw it when he got the set up the winner for Bruno against Leicester. We've seen it numerous times this season. Would you be against that? Potentially keeping Joe Linton in that middle three, and then Willock bombing on and trying to create problems, but equally being able to come back in here. Would that be the worst thing in the world?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think really, on an official team sheet terms, it's been that Joe Willock's been on the left, but the 2 players have constantly swapped with each other during games. You've seen it with Willock with them sort of long bust and runs forward. So in many ways, when you play them 2 together, they are constantly chopping and changing, where Joe Linton often drops into centre and Joe Willock goes down the left as well. So I think if they're them 2 on the left-hand side, they're going to rotate. So I don't think it would change the system that much, to be honest, if that was to be the case.
Definitely. This for me is here, and I think John and Daz both alluded to this. This is where I think the game may well be won. For either team, and I think it's going to be a hell of a battle. And I've kind of almost placed the players up against each other. I think Bruno's press here will be key, because we know, and we saw it again on Sunday, that fake Bruno likes to play those little balls in there to Rashford in and behind, and Rashford getting on the end of them. If Bruno can press as high as we know he can, and as good as we know he can, and stop that from happening in and around fake Bruno, then yeah, I think we've got a great chance. Joe Linton against Casemiro is a fascinating battle. There's lots of talk that Joe Linton will be picked for the Brazilian squad. What better way to solidify your place in the Brazilian squad by, doing a number on Casemiro, who, for me, I have to say it, people might not agree, he's the best defensive midfielder in the world for me. I think he's outstanding. And it will be a big, big ask for Joe Linton to keep him quiet. Not just here, but he likes to get up here as well. He's not the conventional defensive midfielder. He's all over the pitch, and he's very good at what he does. Here, I think Longstaff could quite easily get the better of Fred. Fred is quite erratic in his challenging. Getting him or Casemiro an early yellow card would be a good move for sure. And look, Wilson, I think that's going to be a good battle here between those 2. Both very, very aggressive in their play. I think it could make for a real nice battle there. But lots and lots to talk about. I think, as the week goes on, I think the thoughts and the feelings about who's coming in and who's not could potentially change. That's for sure. But really, really good chat, lads, and a different perspective from even what we had yesterday. We're talking differently in terms of how the team's set up, and this is why we do it, because it's great to get your opinions, Johnny and Jordan, on your selections, because we've had probably about four or five different selections now from last night to tonight, what we could actually play. But the one thing that we have set, which I don't think anyone can argue about, is the back four. The back four is what it is because our foundations have been built on those boys doing the job, and I think they will do it again. I really do. So
I'll just add something, Daz. Pete. Sorry, on the back four, because I think it's a really important point. You will still see Trippier where he is right now. By the way, you can see him there. He will still be up and down. It doesn't matter who we're playing. But what you'll see is when he does come in, it'll end up almost being a three at the back. Burn will come in, Botman will come in, and Cher will come in. And what you probably will see as well, you probably see Sean Longstaff probably sacrificing himself for the team, and you probably see him drop.
Yeah.
He'll be dropping it slightly. Not too much, maybe a tiny bit to the right towards where Rashford is. Just when Trippier Trippier basically goes, give me the ball, I want to drive up and I want to try and support Almiron as much as I can. Because you have seen that throughout the season. You see those three defenders at the back there, Burn, Botman and Cher. It's essentially almost three at the back when we're attacking because Trippier is such an outlet for us. Teams, let's be honest, if you're in the bottom half, I've been terrified of Newcastle when Trippier gets time and space on the ball because he has got that delivery in his locker. He's got an eye for a pass. He has had a fantastic partnership with Miguel Almiron, and he's a big reason why Miguel Almiron is Newcastle United's top goal scorer this season. That is such a massive impact. But don't be surprised, and I'm saying this with Sean Longstaff, don't be surprised to see Sean Longstaff just keeping an eye on what's going on just in case something goes wrong, because I do think Eddie Howe will go, you need to be aware at all times. You're going to have to do more and more running, which he's probably used to anyway, because the amount of running he does in a game is frightening, let's be honest. And he probably has to sacrifice himself a little bit because, let's be honest, can we really see Bruno doing that in that sort of role? I don't personally. I don't know if other people do, but Eddie Howe will still want that outlet from Kieran Trippier.
Yeah,
it's an interesting one. I wouldn't want Bruno here because what you want is Bruno to be the outlet. So, because what I think you'll find, and it happens quite a lot, is that whoever we're trying to stop here, in fact, we saw it quite a lot against Palace at Selhurst Park with Zaha, because he was the main threat in that game. And what you found is a lot of the time, Shaw would come in here to block that off. So if Trippier got forward, there'd always be one guy here. Longstaff would come in here, and then Trippier would get back, and you'd see Almiron maybe come to the halfway line to potentially start the attack again. Bruno was always here because if either one of them won the ball, the first thought would be, can we keep the ball in here? Can we get it to Almiron? Or if Shaw's got the ball, can we feed it into Bruno and start an attack? So you wouldn't want him in that position there. You'd want Longstaff because he presses well, he wins the ball well. But what you'll find is you'll find this. You'll find this. So if Trippier's gone forward and Rashford's looking for that ball, you'll see exactly what you've just said. Longstaff cutting the lines from Bruno to play that ball in. You'll see Almiron trying to cut the lines from Luke Shaw playing that ball in there. And if Trippier needs to get back, you'll see that triangle here. Almost like the same way that you'll see the triangle up here. Or it's normally Bruno. So it fits into there. That little triangle there. You'll find up here, and it'll be based on that whether we pick up chances or not. So yeah, no, I think it's a great point. But yeah, Trippier will be Trippier. It's what he's built his name on. He's so good at it. He wants to get up and support Almiron, but we've just got to be smart with it because we can't afford what happened on Saturday. Is that the right back up here? And look, we're not going to be playing against Trent Alexander-Arnold every week, but what we don't want is, if the boys are moved further up the pitch, what we don't want is exactly what happened on Saturday, in that that diagonal ball coming up to here, Shaw was out of position, the ball comes into here, and Nunes is put the ball in. We don't want that to Rashford. We don't want Bruno in that position, fake Bruno, playing that ball to him in and around that area, because that's where we can hurt us. So I don't mind going forward here, but we're going to have to be aware of it. The last thing we want is conceding an early goal through a lack of concentration or a gung-ho approach. As the game builds on, yeah, of course, get yourself forward, because Man United won't be at it for long parts of the game. You looked at the Leicester game. Leicester should have been maybe 2 or 3-0 up if it weren't for De Gea. making great saves. So there are ways to get in and behind them, but we're going to have to do it in stages of the game. You're not going to see it for 90 minutes, but there'll be pockets of games where you'll see Trippier just bomb forward and go, you know what, let's go for it. And there'll be 10 or 15 minutes, hopefully, where Mad Dog Tyndall says, you know what, just sit in, hold your line, hold the back four, and stop them playing. And there'll be times where that happens. But again, a really, really good point. And that back four will be crucial again. That's for sure. But look, we could talk tactics all day. Really, really good chat with regards to tactics. Lots of different opinions and questions with regards to that. We'll keep that cracking on. But look, Jordan, obviously you've joined us. You're giving us your opinion on the team. You know, are you there Sunday? I assume you are.
Of course.
So what are your emotions going into this? And I imagine it's slightly different, obviously, having to kind of report on it compared to being a fan. But how have you managed to kind of tug with that over the last week or so? And how are you feeling today? Yeah,
so it's a hard one because obviously first and foremost I'm a journalist and that's my job and I stay professional. But you know, there's a part of me as well as, you know, I've waited my whole lifetime to see Newcastle United in the final. You know, it was actually after the Southampton game when they got through and the case of Ross over the PA system when it was working, because obviously it didn't work on Saturday. But yeah, it just started to hit us then at what this team had actually done. I expected Newcastle to progress under this new ownership, but I didn't expect to see them in a cup final so quickly. And it's a special feeling. I've got family members going down. I've got friends going down. You know, this city is just so. You know, the football club is the church, and it's a religion up here, and it means a lot to everyone. So to see the emotion, not just for myself, but, you know, as I say, friends and family, it means a lot. And, you know, you just hope that Newcastle can go down and win. But in terms of the weekend, I've always said, look, I just want to see Newcastle in a final, and we'll enjoy the weekend regardless. But look, we want to win. We want to win this first trophy for a very, very long time. And look, if Newcastle are able to do that, I won't be jumping up and down in the press box because that won't be allowed. But so I'll certainly be a very happy man. But I'm looking forward to the whole weekend. See, there'll be a lot of drunk Geordies, I'd imagine, at Trafalgar Square. Hopefully no one jumps into the fountain naked or anything like that.
Chris is going.
Yeah, but
might happen.
Geordie's going.
Yeah. We just gotta enjoy the weekend. So you've waited a very, very long time for this. And I think it hasn't really hit home, actually. I think when the teams walk out of Wembley, the national anthem will be playing. Eddie Howe's leading the team out in, I'd imagine, his suit. Yeah, it'll be a special feeling. And look, I haven't been able to imagine yet if they were to win it. Because if they were to win it, it would be absolutely incredible. But what an occasion that say there's a lot of it's a lifetime of supporters that have waited for this. You know, they've waited a very, very long time to see Newcastle in the final, and I just hopefully now they can go and finish the business and beat Manchester United, who have had, you know, a lot of good final wins over Newcastle over the years. It's time for hopefully a bit of revenge, and hopefully this is Newcastle's time. And I'm sure once the first trophy arrives, and many more will follow under this new ownership.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm excited. I'm excited. I won't be excited on the day. I'll be nervous as hell. I'll just go through the various different stages of emotions. But yeah, it's why not dream? Why not dream about bringing that trophy home? I think we've got a great chance at doing so. I've just seen in the chat, there's over 200 watching, but only 16 likes. Come on, people, just
hit that like button.
It takes a second. Come on, it makes sense. I think there's a few questions actually popped up in the chat.
There are a few questions. Let me see where we should start. Look, we go for a PDK's one. And Jordan, is it true ASM is in contract extension talks with the club. You heard on that?
No, it's not something I've heard, but it would explain his positive form of late if he was in talks over a contract extension, because he likes to up his game when there's talk of an extension on the table, as he did a few years ago as well. But no, that's not something I've heard. I'd be surprised if that was the case, because I still think St. Maxim's got a big sort of couple of months at the football club coming up before he decides his future on the summer, because look, he hasn't played many games this season. Look, he showed glimpses over the last few weeks of him getting back to his best, but I still think in a strange sort of way he's got a few critics, which is unfair, but there is a few critics among the fan base that he's got to prove wrong, and you still have to do that before the end of the season. And I'd imagine maybe there might be contract talks then, but no, that's not something I've heard currently.
There's a lot of people have been talking about whether it's other journalists or just fans in general talking about ASM not being an Eddie Howe player, and there's lots of arguments to agree with that. But if he was to sign a new contract now or within the next month or two, I think that would squash all of those feelings around that being the case. And Eddie Howe would be, Eddie Howe would basically be backing up his words, because let's be honest, he's talked about ASM very positively whenever he's been questioned about him in every press conference. And Jordan, because you're in them, he always talks about him very, very positively. So he'd almost be backing up his comments. But there is still that noise that he's not an Eddie Howe player, and there's always that kind of question: is will he be sold in the summer? And I think it's a big question that needs to get answered. That's for sure. But yeah, no, it's an interesting one with ASM.
Let's go, and I'll go to you, Johnny, with this one. It's not a question, but it's a comment. Not a question, but just want to thank all you lads, Loaded, UFC Fans TV, Rob Steen, Tuna View. The content and chat and banter since the takeover has been second to none, and even before the takeover as well. Keep up the good work. And you know what? Loop in the likes of Newcastle World and Dom on the She's Gazette and Hopi and all the journalists. There's some great content. We have something to talk about now. As well. It's just there's plenty of content for everyone. But cheers for the comments, John. Question for Johnny. So Johnny's still pissed off at me after the other clip. Oh, you missed it, Jordan. I took the piss out of Johnny for a change. See, we don't just suit you.
I know how you feel, Jordan. Don't you worry about it. I know how you feel.
Right, Johnny, this is a very important question from Scotty. Would you rather score in the first 5 minutes, get battered, but win, or score in the last 5 minutes, having played well, and win?
I think it's score in the last 5 minutes, because I think then there's less nerves. But I think if you score in the first 5 minutes, yes, it'll be an unbelievable moment. I just think it'd just be just as unbelievable if it was in the last 5 minutes, and you've only got to look at your watch every 3 seconds rather than every 1 second. Probably, let's be honest, if it's pretty much a whole 90 minutes, pretty much a whole game of looking at the watch. But let's be honest, I think, God, if you're giving Newcastle a chance to win it with 5 minutes to go, and we take it, and we're leading with 5 minutes to go, it'll probably be the longest 5 minutes of everybody's lives. But I'll tell you what, it'd be so worth it if we can hold on. I know everybody's talking about the game itself, but I allude to what I said before about I don't think many people have actually thought about the moment of winning. And people actually got thinking about the moment of Newcastle walking up the steps and actually lifting the trophy, because I think it's, yes, we could win it, but actually that moment of Jamal Lascelles and Kieran Trippier probably jointly holding the trophy. Just picture that thought on Sunday, because that is a possibility. It's a real possibility. It wouldn't surprise me if Newcastle are 2-1 with about a minute to go and Jamal Lascelles comes on for a corner, heads it away, and we win the trophy. Like, that could potentially happen, and he's done his bit. But I think, like, we've been on for over an hour, and we've not even spoken about Loris Karius. We've not spoken about him, and he's going to probably have to have. I said this sentence on Saturday when we were doing the last word. Loris Karius could play one game for Newcastle United, be man of the match, and if he's part of the winning side and never plays again, he will go down as a legend. He will go down as probably one of the best Newcastle goalkeepers I've ever had. That's how stupid and bizarre that sentence is.
because he's won a
It's
trophy
not-
for you.
Exactly.
He's
Ridiculous.
done the business. But I think, look, and I don't know whether you guys agree. I almost don't want to talk about Loris Karius because I don't want to make it about him, because I don't want, as a fan, I don't want us to put any more pressure on him than what he already has. You know, he wasn't, as far as I'm aware, Jordan, you might know differently. I don't even think he was even at the game against Liverpool, or he wasn't even on the bench or around the squad at any point. So for him watching that game and seeing what happened to Pope, and then realizing when the commentators are saying, well, Dubravka's cup-tied, he's then thinking, I need to go trade because I'm going to be playing on Sunday, and that brings its own pressure. We don't need to be constantly talking about Karius, and building that pressure and adding to him. And I made the point last night on our show is that, like, there's been so many games this season where our defense has been so good where Pope hasn't even had to make a save. He hasn't even had to make a save. Like, he hasn't had nothing to do. And I want that again for him. I want that again for him, for Karius on Sunday. I want it to be about the team and what we do, not about, or Karius, is there going to be a problem? Is there going to be a blip? This, that, and the other. I don't want it to be about that. But, even so, he's a good goalkeeper. For me, I would say he should be number 2. I didn't want Dubravka back after he made his decision to go to Man United. He should be number 2 anyway. So for me, I think he's a great option. He's a better option in my eyes than Darlow. I think he'd do a better job. But there's some stats here that someone sent to me on social media, on Twitter, and it was most clean sheets 2017, 2018, albeit yes, but he hasn't played a lot of football since that moment in the Champions League final. But he had the most clean sheets at that point. We forget sometimes as a goalkeeper those moments in the Champions League final. It makes you forget actually he's done a lot of good. He's made a lot of good saves. He's had a lot of clean sheets. He's done a lot of good for Liverpool all throughout that season. And then the one thing that he did clouds everybody's judgment. And a lot of people in the chat last night and tonight have alluded to the fact that actually there was a potential concussion with him. And someone's put the clip on social media. I don't know if you saw it, the moment in which he got concussed when he got elbowed in the head early on in that half. By Sergio Ramos, and it was a bad one, and there's a lot of talk about that being the reason why he was so groggy at that point. So there are a lot of factors to it. Of course we're going to get behind him, but it's not the factor that I want us to focus on. I want to focus on us and what we can do to Man United, not about is Karius going to be good enough to keep a clean sheet or to save the day. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I don't think it's a situation of Karius being in goal. I think it's the situation of how it's led to Karius being in goal. Craig Hope got a lot of stick today for a piece that he written, but I actually agree with it. And it was for a club that's got so much right in the last 18 months. How have they got this so wrong? Because you're going into your biggest game in 24 years with your third choice goalkeeper. And look, it seems like the most Newcastle United thing ever. I don't think it could happen at any other football club, but to be in that situation, it's quite astonishing, really. Obviously, the situation with loaning out Dubravka coming back, and then waiting until the final hour of the transfer window in January to get rid of Darlow in case there was an injury to Nick Pope, for example. And then you're a week away from the game, and Nick Pope goes and gets sent off, and Karius is in, and Karius hasn't appeared in the matchday squad since November last year. He doesn't even go to the games. Eddie Howe addressed it on Saturday after the game, so he takes 3 goalkeepers to games, and it's obviously Nick Pope, Martin Dubravka, and the third one's often Mark Gillespie, and he's just being taken as a warm-up goalkeeper on a match day. So Loris Karius doesn't go to the game. So look, God knows where Loris Karius was on Saturday when Nick Pope got sent off. He might have jetted off a board somewhere, and he might have been having a glass of wine or something, and next thing you know, his phone's pinging and he's realised what's happened. It's a bizarre situation, but when Nick Pope got sent off, I was sitting next to Liam Kennedy, and I said straight away, Loris Karius redemption story.
Yeah, the redemption arc. Yeah.
Look, maybe that's me being, well, it is. It's me being very hopeful. But I just want to try and be positive about it. I'd say it's the first final in 24 years. I don't want to go into the final with such a negative mindset. Just give the lad a chance. He's as you mentioned, Pete. There, he's not a bad goalkeeper. His career has quite harshly been defined on one game, which is that Champions League final. Before that, he was Liverpool's number one. You're not a bad goalkeeper if Jurgen Klopp thinks you're good enough to be number one at Liverpool. And people have to remember that as well. And I said after the game in Saudi Arabia when he played the first half against Al Hilal, he had a really good half. And I said I actually think he's Newcastle's best goalkeeper behind Nick Pope. Yeah. This was before Martin Dubravka had returned. Now I still think Martin Dubravka probably is a better goalkeeper currently, but that's just because Loris Karius hasn't played a game in 2 years. But I just think if Loris Karius comes in on Saturday, and on Sunday, which he will, what a testament will be to his mentality if he has a really strong week and he wins Newcastle a trophy. Like, imagine if it went to penalties, for example, and he saved a couple of penalties in the shootout. Football is a very strange game, and it's weird how things work out. So look, there'll be a lot of talk around Karius this week, rightly or wrongly, because we're in the media and we love to build things up. And I don't want to put any extra pressure on Karius himself, but that's just the way it is. That's the way it'll be in the media this week. But I'm sure Eddie Howe will have him. You'll calm him down, and I think he'll be in a very good place mentally on Sunday. I think it'll either go two ways for him. It'll either be perhaps a bit overwhelming for him because he's constantly got that Champions League in the back of his mind, or it's this is my chance to build something and make sure people forget about that Champions League final. And my career is not defined off one game. I can play really well in this final and potentially win Newcastle United a trophy. And as Johnny mentioned there, would go down as a legend at the football club if he comes in and plays one game and wins them a cup. And what a story that would be for him.
You're right, Jordan, because there's actually a documentary or an Amazon documentary on the goalkeepers alone at Newcastle. Like, we have the situation that Gillespie now doesn't have to go looking for a ticket because he'll be sitting on the bench for the final, and Dubravka, we talked about it last night, he'll be there with his half and half Newcastle Man United jersey. He'll either be going up accepting a winner's medal or a loser's medal. So it's win-win for him. But it's just absolutely crazy the way it has worked out with regards to keepers.
It's crazy, but it could have been very different. Okay, and I get what Craig Hope's saying in terms of how this has managed to get to this point. But we could be quite easily in exactly the same position, but thinking about it very differently. Because let's face it, Martin Dubravka, once he signalled his intentions of wanting to leave and not being second fiddle to Pope, we should have sold it. You could argue that Carl Darlow should have been sold in the summer or loaned out or moved on in some way, shape or form in the summer as well. So if you'd have done that in the summer and then brought Karius in as your number 2 with Gillespie as number 3, it wouldn't have actually looked so bad. But it's actually because we've kept those goalkeepers on the books. We've taken Dubravka back when really, if we were taking him back from his loan from Man United, he should have then just been moved on, in my opinion. And with Darlow, for me, he should have gone in the summer, but he should have gone earlier on in the window. And if we're sitting there with Karius as number 2, it wouldn't have been so bad. He probably would have been exposed to more football, not necessarily playing, but like you said, Jordan, the warm-ups and being a part of the match day squads and being in and around things would have been better for him. I just think we've kept the wrong players at the club from that perspective, from a goalkeeper perspective. Dubravka should have been off the books a long time ago, and Darlow should have been gone, definitely. What's going on?
Don't get that comment.
Yeah, I left it on screen. You fancy that Liam Kennedy?
What, me and Sam against Jordan and Liam? I'll tell you what. Sam's a big lad, but I'm telling you now, he'd back off. as long as we have Pete, I think Sam's met Pete in person, and Pete's a big lad. So
don't bring me into this. Don't bring me into this. I'm just the guy in the middle. You know what? I'll be the ref.
Oh God!
You know that
we'll call it a draw. Right. Call it a draw. No, I have to, if I can throw my 50 pence in on this goalkeeping debate, because I've got really strong views on this. Why have Newcastle United been so nice? Why have they been generally so nice in regards to the situation? Okay, Martin Dubravka, when he said that he didn't want to play and he wanted to play for Man United, fair enough. If you want to play for Man United, fair enough. But you sell him, you don't load him. You don't. I'm not even saying Manchester United are a rival to Newcastle, even if at the start of the season they weren't a rival. Let's be honest. You don't sell him. You don't loan him to a Premier League club. Why? That's stupid. It just doesn't make any sense, in my opinion.
January last year.
Exactly, like Jesse Lingard at Newcastle. If Manchester United, with the way they behaved when they came at Jesse Lingard come at Newcastle, tell them to do one. Like, let's be honest. Like, seriously, like I got so irate with the whole Dubravka debacle, because it is a debacle. If anything, whoever signed that off at the club was being too nice. We don't want to be a step over or a walkover anymore. I'm sick of that tag with Newcastle United, let's be honest. The Carl Darlow one, again, is just mental. It's mental, let's be honest, because Carl Darlow must have been so annoyed that he wasn't second choice when Dubravka came back in. I think Darlow was Darlow even on the bench against Sheffield Wednesday? I can't remember now. Maybe he was, but again, loaning him out to Hull, 23rd hour, he's not even playing for Hull. The goalkeeper for Hull had a worldie, he saved a penalty, so Darlow's been warming the bench at Hull, never mind warming the bench at Newcastle. So he's in a situation that's probably thinking, hold on a second, I'm not even playing here. I'm not even playing. It's ridiculous. But the Karius one as well, I do agree, Pete. He's a good goalkeeper. We only need him to play one game. Yes, it's the biggest game in 25 years. It's a bit different. But we only need him to play one game for Newcastle. And he has got big game experience. Look, yes, we can talk about the Champions League final, but he's played semi-finals and played well. He was part of the side that played against Manchester City and beat them 5-1. You know, he is a good goalkeeper. I'm not as worried as what other fans would have been. I would have been more worried if we didn't have a Bruno or if we didn't have a Trippier. Could you imagine Javier Manquillo against Marcus Rashford, for example? Sometimes, you know, these things unfortunately happen. But on Saturday, I spoke to somebody on Saturday who was quite close to what was going on. Loris Karius was on a training session on Saturday. It was penciled in for him to have a training session on Saturday. So he was in Newcastle. He was told that he didn't have to go to the game. He didn't have to go to the game if he didn't want to. So he obviously chose not to be at St James's Park, but he did do a training session on Saturday. So that's all was penciled in for him. So look, he'll definitely be warming up with the goalkeepers because he will be starting on Saturday. But my biggest reason when you like to Dan Ashworth's, whoever will look at this in the future, Newcastle United can't be a walkover anymore. We can't be a soft touch. We can't be, we'll be nice. We'll let Martin go and maybe live out his dream of playing for Man United. We'll give Carl some minutes in Hull. Do what's best for Newcastle United. And if that pisses off other players, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. You've got to think what's best for Newcastle United at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Jordan, I know Daz has got a couple of other questions, but this is one that I came across earlier. I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and it was from Matt Hughes in the Mail Online. It says, Man City coach Newcastle's analysis, Mark Leyland in a huge blow to Eddie Howe. He's only been at the club 14 months. We poached him from Liverpool, and yet he now looks like he's going to Man City at the end of the season. Do you know anything about it? And look, is that something that we need to be worried about? Because from all accounts, Mark Leyland's come in and done a fantastic job since he's been at the club.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a massive blow because, the way Newcastle have set up tactically is against sides has been because of Mark Leyland. Eddie Howe spoke about him publicly and really praised them. And he also received a lot of praise from Jurgen Klopp when he first left Liverpool to come to Newcastle. So I think when two managers of their caliber speak about a person like that, he obviously has a lot about him. So yeah, it's a massive blow in terms of losing someone like him on the backroom team. But the good thing with Newcastle now, and you'd certainly go and back Eddie Howe to go and find a good replacement to replace Mark Leyland. It's a shame he's only been here 14 months, but I know Newcastle are on the rise, but when the champions of England come calling, there's probably a tough one to turn down at this stage in his relatively young career so far. So yeah, a disappointing blow. But as I've seen with Newcastle and under this ownership, you will back them to go out and find a suitable replacement.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was surprised by that, I've got to be honest, because I thought he was coming in for the long haul. But I think there's been some pictures on social media today with his job already going out there as being advertised as being available with I think one or two others. So it's a shame. Some people are saying, I think George Chivlai said he's not loyal, so let him go. The fact that he's been within 14 months, or it'll be 17, 18 months by the time he actually goes, it'd have been at Liverpool, Newcastle, and Man City during that time. A lot of Newcastle fans are saying, well, if he's not committed to the project, then let him go. We'll get someone else in, and look, I'm sure we will. But he is well thought of as a Newcastle analyst, and he has seen us through a very, very good period since he's come in. Seeing us stay up and then help transform us into a team that are fighting for the Champions League. So, an interesting one. I wanted to throw that one out there, that's for sure. But Daz, I know you got a few more questions.
Yeah, a few. Start with this one because it's kind of links into two, and we did talk about it last night. But just was confirmation that Pope's ban is just for one game, isn't that right? Yeah, one for one game. So that will answer your question as well. Life goals. Yeah, no, it'll be Popey that'll be back in goal for the Man City game. Then after that, cool. Where are we going next? This one for Johnny. Johnny, you do great coverage on the women's team. Is there any sign of the club putting more women's highlights on YouTube or showing at halftime for the men's home matches?
I think that's a question for the club in regards to the last bit of the question. I have to be honest, it's something that I've actually grown to love, to be honest with you. Lee, I have to give Lee a lot of credit because he had been following the women's team for probably the last 5-6 years, even when they weren't even part of the Newcastle United umbrella. And it's obviously since the takeover, it's gone from strength to strength. You've seen 22,000 at a home game, which is effectively a League Two game. That went up to 28,000 in an FA Cup match earlier on this season, which was fantastic. It's a different sort of atmosphere. Look, it's more of a family atmosphere, but the football is getting better and better. Newcastle just signed 2 players from the Championship, like the women's equivalent of the Championship, and you can tell there's a difference. You can tell even just from the last game I went to against York, in which Newcastle won by 4-2. Newcastle women's team is going to get better and better and stronger. The problem is the league, for some reason, in the division that Newcastle United find themselves in, only one team gets promoted. So it's so tight at the top. Newcastle at the minute trail by, I believe, 7 points to Durham, Sestria, but they've got 2 games in hand. But in regards to the actual question, was it about showing highlights? I have to be honest, it's a question that the club, I don't know where the club stand on what they can and can't do, because obviously in terms of there are certain restrictions. It's the same with the men's team. There are certain restrictions that they can and can't do. You can see they can't show the highlights of the game until, I think it's at 10 o'clock. They can show a 2-minute highlight, and then at 12 o'clock they can show like a 10-minute extended clip. I think there can be more done, and that's not being critical to the club. I just think there can be more done in showing more, like say highlights, or showing more. Like there should be a highlight package for every single game that should be put out on the club's channel. Because if they did that, you get more eyes watching it, which will end up getting more people to come to Kingston Park. Like over 4,000 at Kingston Park. There's some League One teams that don't even get 4,000. So that just shows the strength of Newcastle United, especially with the women's team. But Becky Langley's doing a great job. She wants promotion. She's doing everything that she can to do that. It's going to be tight between them and Durham, but it's in their own hands. They win the last 9 games of the season. They'll be champions. They'll be promoted. They play Middlesbrough tomorrow in a derby. Bianca Owens used to play for Middlesbrough, who Newcastle have just signed. She played for Borough for 5 years, so I'm sure she'll be looking forward to that one. But if Newcastle have just got to keep on winning. But the more publicity that the women's team get, I know Jordan's done some bits and pieces on the women's side as well over the years as well. So it's certainly a lot better, because believe me, without going into too much detail, it wasn't great at all when Mike Ashley was in charge. Let's put it that way. But it has been great. Honestly, I thoroughly recommend, if anybody's not doing anything tomorrow, go down to Kingston Park and watch the women's team play, because honestly, I think you'll come out there with a good night, and you'll see some great football, and you'll see obviously a lot of people support Newcastle United. That's what it's all about. That's all it's all about. It doesn't matter who's playing for Newcastle United. As long as Newcastle United win, we're all happy at the end of the day.
Here. Agree with that.
Just before you come with some questions, I know, Johnny, are you okay to stay on for a few more questions?
Yeah, I can stay for a few more. I can stay on for a bit longer, yeah.
No worries.
Cool.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. We'll go with this one. I think we probably all know the answer to this, but do you think that Eddie has a master plan for the final? You know how meticulous he is. Yes or me?
Yeah. It's that's that one. Yeah.
I hope it's got a master plan for Marcus Rashford. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That'll be. I think it'll be the master plan for Rashford and Fernandes. I think fake Bruno. I think if you can stop them two, connecting and linking up, it goes a long way. It goes a long way to stopping them being functional going forward. And I've said it before and I say it again, Man United would always give you a chance. They'll always make a mistake. They'll always commit. And the one thing that sticks in my mind about Man United, and I watched them against Leicester as well, they're not great at set pieces, defending set pieces. They're not the best. They're not the most physical team. We already know about Martinez not being the tallest, but Darlow, if he plays, isn't the greatest defensively. Varane's okay in the air, but he's not a powerhouse. He's not a Burn or a Botman in a defensive situation where they'll just clear everything. I think set pieces, corners, free kicks, if we get them right, because I tell you what, we get set pieces all the time, and we just don't make the most of them. But I genuinely believe that we've got an opportunity to really cause them some problems with set pieces, because I don't think they're great. You've got De Gea that doesn't come out and collect the ball. He's not one of those goalkeepers. He's not an Alisson or an Edison that will come out and collect the ball and take the pressure off. He's not he doesn't do what Pope does or Ramsdale. He stays on his line, which is great for us. That's what we want. So I think what we've been doing a lot, and I don't know if you guys agree, I'm kind of expanding this point now, is that a lot of our set pieces, like from Trippier, for example. So when it, for example, needs a left-footed in-swinger, Trippier will take the corner and do an out-swinger. And I think we need to be putting the ball onto the goalkeeper all the time, because De Gea is not comfortable coming to collect the ball. And if we put as much pressure on him as possible, putting someone like Wilson on the goalkeeper and just pumping it into that area, and you get Burn attacking it at the front post, Botman in the middle, and just really putting pressure on them, I do think that we can nick a goal. I really do.
But the thing with set pieces, actually, I think Newcastle have actually been quite poor for set pieces this season. You think about the amount of height they've got in the team. When was the last time they scored from a corner? So at the start of the season, they were brilliant. They played like short corners. They had these lovely corner routines. That they scored 2 in the early part of the season. I think one was against Brentford where Bruno scored. The other one was where I think it was a short one between Trippier and Almiron, and next thing you know, Wilson scored against Aston Villa. But since then, they haven't tried anything creative from a corner. They just seem to be putting balls into the box, and look, they've got the height in the box, but they never really, as I say, they haven't scored from a corner for a long time. So you'd think the amount of height in the team, Newcastle should be more of a threat, but really have probably failed to deliver in that area. I don't know what you guys think on that.
I agree. I agree. I don't think we've utilised set pieces well enough. I really don't. There was a little spell where we were showing that we can. Obviously, the game against Brentford where Bruno Guimaraes scored that goal, and it was well worked out. But I agree. When you've got the likes of Sven Botman, Dan Burn, and Fabian Schär, who are, I would say you would almost expect more for them, especially the likes of Dan Burn. Like, I know he scored that goal against Leicester, but it was with his feet. Like. And I know he had the header off the crossbar, which is a little bit unfortunate. But why are they not getting in the right areas or putting those chances away? Because we should be expecting. Are we a bit mean to say can we not get 5 goals out of the 3 of you from set pieces this season? Is that real? Is that unrealistic considering the size of you and the fact that you've got that in your locker? I agree. I think we should be really. I hope that Mark Leyland's leaving present is there to go through the set pieces and see if there's a way that we can get a goal before, because obviously he's got to Man City. I'm sure he want to go over Man United as well. But yeah, look, got to utilise, especially with Kieran Trippier's deliveries. If they're on a sixpence, which sometimes they are. Obviously, there's been the odd 1 or 2 games where they haven't been as strong, but we know what Kieran Trippier is like from set pieces for the majority of the time. I'll be not expecting it, but you'd like to think that either Dan Burn, Sven Botman, or Fabian Schär gets a chance and potentially scores this weekend, because, like I say, they're not the biggest team. That's why you might see Scott McTominay play for Man United in midfield if he doesn't play against Barcelona. You might just see him there for height more than anything else, almost the replacement for Fred if Fred plays against Barcelona on Thursday night. But yeah, got to take the chances. Like, I almost feel when talking about it now, lads, I think Newcastle have to start off like a house on fire, regardless of what happens on Thursday night. If they start like a house on fire, then will Man United be up for it? Can they calm the storm, if you like? Because if they can't, they could be in trouble. But yeah, we'll see.
Catch them cold. They'll need time to warm up on Sunday. After playing on Thursday, if we can catch them cold with an early sucker punch or 2, that could change the game, that's for sure. But one thing I'll add is that Mad Dog Tyndall was really good at Bournemouth with Eddie Howe, with set pieces, and it seems like Leyland's maybe taken on the reins. Could it be then passed back to Tyndall to work on 1 or 2 things to do it differently? We don't maximise our players that are good in the air, and I think we need to do more of that. But fingers crossed.
Go back to a few more questions. Back to what you were talking about, the ladies' game. Johnny, Roger asked, any idea what time the kickoff is?
Yeah, so it's 7:45 kickoff tomorrow. I'll be there with Lee. I believe he's there. He's doing about 25 million things this week, and he wants me to do 24 million things this week. So yeah, I'm meeting him tomorrow night for the game, which is 7:45. Big game. Borough doing well this season, but Newcastle should be too strong for them. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, should be good. I think the girls play against Leeds before the cup final, so I think that's a 2 o'clock kickoff. So as soon as that game's finished, they'll be on their way back with a minibus with their all in the sky goes, hoping for the best, and they'll be probably the first people back in Newcastle celebrating and everything goes to plan. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Okay, I'll combine 2 questions together and I'll put it to Jordan and Johnny. Johnny, we'll start with you because we know you're good at the predictions. So first up is from Tom, and I'll combine it with the second one then. Tom asked, do you think Newcastle will finish 4th or 5th in the league? He's not going below 5th, 4th or 5th from Tom, and also predictions for the game on Sunday. So I combine it together there. Are we finishing? Where are we finishing the league, and are we going to win on Sunday?
I would love to say Newcastle will finish 4th, but I just think Liverpool will be a bit too strong. I think they've got too much quality in depth more than Newcastle. Like, you look at Newcastle's bench, especially against Bournemouth. You looked at Newcastle's bench against Bournemouth and you thought, ooh, there's not much there. I know we're obviously missing a couple of players, but you look at Liverpool, like you saw the 4 players that they brought on Sunday. What was it? Firmino, Elliott. They've got Luis Diaz still waiting to come back in as well, who improves them. They've got a good front 3. I know Núñez hasn't been brilliant this season, but he's just kind of starting to find his feet a little bit. So I think Liverpool will probably finish 4th. And I don't honestly think there's much in it between Newcastle and Tottenham for 5th. I really, really don't. I think Spurs I said this on the podcast. I think at the Greenwood and Mulliner show. I think I said Spurs are just being Spursy. They'll beat Man City and then they'll lose to Leicester. They'll beat West Ham. They'll probably lose to whoever they're playing at Wolves or somebody like that this weekend. It just wouldn't surprise you. You wouldn't surprise seeing Spurs lose to teams that they shouldn't really lose. But it's Spurs. They do that. They've done that for 20 odd years. They've done it for longer than that. So it doesn't surprise me. But it wouldn't surprise me if Newcastle finished fifth, and if we do finish fifth, it's an unbelievable season. But while we've still got top four in our hands, it would be nice just to keep it in our own hands a little bit longer. But I do unfortunately think, regardless of what happens on Sunday, that might drift away. But on Sunday, I can't say that Newcastle aren't going to win on Sunday. I haven't got it in the heart to say that Newcastle can't win on Sunday. Newcastle can win on Sunday. Will they? Yeah, I think they will. I think they will end the trophy drought only because Man United are playing Barcelona. I think if they had a full week, Man United, then you would say it's going to be a difficult game. It was going to be a difficult game regardless. It's going to be close. It's going to be tight. Depends on how we deal with Rashford, obviously. But my prediction, a Loris Karius worldy save in the 95th minute means that Newcastle win by 2-1, and he lifts the trophy with so many people going, he's the best thing since sliced bread. I've already seen so many people say, swing low, sweet Karius bringing the trophy home. So there you go. That's what's going to happen this Sunday. Newcastle are going to win 2-1. I think we'll go 2-0 up. Man United will pull one back. It'll be an edgy few last 10-15 minutes when they do so. But who's going to be the hero? Who's going to be the hero? Bruno Guimaraes will be the hero. Bruno Guimaraes will be the hero. He'll score one of them because he's just still it's in his heart that he'll have to do something to make sure Newcastle win the game on Sunday. But yeah, Newcastle are going to win. Honestly, I'm confident that we can. And people might look and sound like, oh, it's crazy, he's dreaming, but Newcastle can win this game if the players believe, and I'm sure Eddie Howe does believe.
Nice one, Johnny. I hope you're right this time. Right. Jordan, over to you. Are we going to finish in fourth or fifth or lower, and are we going to win the cup?
Yeah, so I think Newcastle will miss out on top four, sadly. I just think they hit the maximum in the first half of the season. I just feel like they've hit a little bit of a lull now, where I just think they're probably just gonna fall short. Liverpool, I think, will come strong now. Spurs very hit and miss, but I think probably if I was to pick, I would probably go with Spurs in fourth and Liverpool fifth, and then probably Newcastle sixth. But that's I'm just only saying that because of the way current results are. So it feels at the moment where Newcastle have hit a little bit of a wall, if you like, struggling to score goals. But look, we could be sitting here in a month's time and Newcastle could be flying again, and then we're all back to saying, oh yeah, we're going to finish in the top four. So on current form, obviously they're not going to, but that could change. But yeah, I think personally, I do think we'll just miss out. Sunday, I can't bring myself to give you a prediction. I'm not going to do it. I'm refusing to do it. I can't do that.
On the fence.
Yeah, massively on the fence. I'm not good at predictions, and I don't want to go public with mine because I don't really have one. All week I've been flickering in and out of going, we're going to win the cup, and then next day I'm like, Manchester United are actually too strong. So I can't give you a prediction. I'd say I'm sorry, but I'm not. I don't want to do it.
No hassle, Jordan. Pete, you're not getting away on this one either. No, you're going to answer this too. I want and no backing out. You always try to wiggle your way out. I want an answer.
Okay. Will we finish top four? I'm going to stick with the positivity. I'm going to go, yes, we're going to finish fourth in the Premier League this season. Why not? I'm going to stay positive. I just think that after the cup final, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, after the cup final, we only play, albeit the West Ham away game from when the Queen passed, we have to play one game a week. And so therefore, we are in a really, really positive position. If Liverpool go deep into the Champions League, it will have an effect. If Tottenham go deep into the Champions League, which they may well do, although they're losing at the moment, it could have an effect. Equally, if Tottenham go out, it could have an effect on them. And I just think that could be the positive for us to kick in and finish in the top 4. I'm going to side with Jordan here. I'm not going to give a prediction of whether we or what the score's going to be just yet, because I'm going to wait till away days before I give my prediction, which is coming to us later on this week. So I'm gonna wait till away days before I give my prediction. It gives me a few more days to think about things before
Hop out.
Whether we're going to win and what the score's going to be.
I don't care where Newcastle finish in the league if they win on Sunday. I don't care.
Yeah.
Sunday is everything to this season. So if they win on Sunday and they end up finishing 8th, I'll completely take that, because I think if they win the Carabao Cup, they're actually guaranteed a place in Europa Conference League next season, which I'd take that. It's look at West Ham, the way they performed this season. They've won every group game, so it'd be quite nice to have a European competition where you probably actually have a realistic chance of winning.
Yeah.
So everything on Sunday, wins Sunday, European football takes care of itself next season. It's not Champions League, but it's still a European competition that this club hasn't had since 2013, 2012, 2013. So I'll take that. That's my view on it.
I think personally, I think us winning the cup would spur us on anyway to push for top 4. I think it would just give us we've been talking about the 5 draws out of 6 games, and then obviously we lose at the weekend. And what is going to be that kick to get us going again? The perfect kick for that is winning the cup to really spur us on for the rest of the season. And I do think that would be the case. But sorry, Lisa, I'm not a Keith. I'm not sitting on the fence. I'm just saying to you, I'll give you my prediction when we do away days. I'm just holding fire for a second. I'm not sitting on the fence. I will give you the prediction. Don't worry.
I'll tell you what,
I'll give mine.
That fence is getting smaller, isn't it?
Hey, Johnny, come on, man. Come on, you're kidding me.
I'll give mine, and I'm going to go the opposite to Johnny. Better odds that way, I think. But no, I had us down as winning the cup. Playing it up my head on penalties with Pope saving. That's what now I've changed that slightly. So I think we're going to have tears for the cup, I'm afraid. I don't want to, but
Daz, kick yourself out of this chat. Go on.
but I'll kick
Get him out.
He may as well join. He may as well join that bloody fence that you're on. I tell you, what the hell's going on here?
I'm sorry,
I'm not having that.
But I think we're going to finish in the top 4. We're going to have an amazing end of the season, and we're going to finish in the top 4.
Oh, I'm going to go to bed.
Johnny said the opposite. I'd go the opposite, but you know what Johnny's like in predictions.
I'm going to sleep tonight knowing that Daz thinks that Newcastle are going to lose on Sunday. I can't believe that.
Johnny, what's the point of going down on Sunday?
Loads of tickets available, lads. Now.
I feel like I should just give this to me dog. Maybe just have a go at it. What's going on? Honestly, I come on this show. It's positivity. We're probably going to, got a good chance of winning this cup final.
Hey,
bloody joking me, man. It's like I'm looking forward to go back to work now.
Daz, you know for a fact right now that Chris Horn is rubbing his hands together thinking, you had me for the Bruno comment, I've got you for this right now. He's rubbing his hands together.
I'd be delighted if I'm wrong. But it's going to be a tough one. It'll be tough. Yeah, that's killing the show, hasn't it?
Give us another positive question to end it on. Come on.
Sorry, Lisa. The kids are crying now. Sorry, Lisa. Right, a positive question. God, where the final one of those?
I love this one. Look. This Goldbridge Mark bloody team. Love it. Sorry,
Okay,
Des.
from Life Goals, who would win a five-side tournament out of NUFC Matters, Newcastle Fans TV, Loaded, or Newcastle World?
We a fighter.
To be fair, I don't think Newcastle will have 5 members of staff, so we could be even.
See, probably the best chance.
Yeah.
I don't know. You haven't seen our five-a-side team, you bugger. You got probably Sam Muller in goal because he can't move. So you'd have to stay in goal and try and do his best. Probably Josh Banyard at the back. me and Carl at midfield and Lee up front. So it probably doesn't scare many people. But if we could sort, I'm sure we could sort something out for charity, do something for the food bank. I'm sure we can arrange something new, maybe in the summer or something. I'm sure we can get something arranged.
Sign me up. Loaded would win. Loaded.
I'm not going. At least I'm not going in a 50-50 with you or a shoulder barge with you. I've got absolutely no chance.
That's what the Wolves said. That's what the Wolves said, and I like it that way because it means I get the board and do what I want with it. Get me out of retirement. I'll be in there 100%. Love it. I love it. Loaded. Of course.
I think we leave it there for the questions, but just to shout out to David Cook. Sorry about the news that you mentioned here in the chat about your stepson's funeral. But glad that we were able to try and cheer you up in some fashion throughout the show, David. But our thoughts are with you. That's really it for the questions, lads. We leave it there. Anything else you want to touch on, Pete, before we finish up?
No. There's calls for a Daz 3-show ban. That comment. And whether it happens or not, we might have to take it back to the lads, and we'll see. We'll see what's.
That's why people sit on the fence. Lesson learned.
I'm not sat on the fence. I need to confirm. Yeah, I'm giving my prediction on Friday. I'm just holding back. I don't want to give my prediction and then Friday or Thursday, whenever we do the away days. Well, what's the point? I've already given it then. But look, massive thanks to Johnny and of course Jordan for joining us. You know what? Apart from Dan's last comment, it's been a really, really good discussion, just about all things cup final, about the selections and various other things. And of course, the questions from the chat have been spot on. And look, we've had over 10 new subscribers tonight. So thank you for subscribing to the show. Really appreciate it as always. And of course, we have to say thank you to our sponsors, the radiatorshed.com. Get these guys in prison. If we could move Daz down there, we would. Oh, there we go. Get him in there. Fantastic selection of radiators, as we know from Russ and the gang. And of course, the aluminium rads are environmentally friendly and perfect for heat source pumps. And they offer a home survey service and will install it if required. And whilst we're there, massive thanks to those at the Northeast Partnership, another sponsor that works alongside Loaded Mag NUFC, and we are massively appreciative of their support too. But there's some other radiators there that you can select from. And of course, Russ's van, showing the love to Loaded Mag and UFC. We love that, that's for sure. And look, a huge thank you to Bathroom Design H2O. Thank you for your support as our new sponsor. And as you can say, it's some of the designs on there are outstanding. And we say it week in, week out. If you're looking for a new bathroom, they are the place to go to. That's for sure. So H2O Bathroom Designs Co. Get involved with those as well. Thank you for all that you do with Loaded Mag NUFC. And just lastly, if you want to become a member of Loaded Mag NUFC, click that blue button on your laptop. It only takes a second, but it means the world to us. And there are, and we announced it yesterday, there are going to be prizes available for all members very, very soon. To keep an eye on that. And we are working on it as we speak. Anything else, Daz?
No, just to tell people what's coming up. Starting tomorrow, we're back again We're back with this. We have a Chronicle special with Andrew Musgrave and Aaron Stokes. So they are joining us tomorrow evening to talk about the Cup final. And we'll get their thoughts as well. So looking forward to that one. We have a few more coming up as well. Maybe something on Wednesday, but on Friday, because a few people asked about it in the chat. Pete, tell us about this one.
Yes. So if anyone's watched Side TV, over 50,000 subscribers for Manchester United. A really, really top guy who does a lot of content outside the ground, inside the ground, and also in build-up to matches. Saeed, on the last away days, did a video for us. He wasn't able to join the show, but he'll be on talking all things Cup final. He's buzzing to come on and chat to us. So come and join the chat. Get your questions in. This is Friday, 7:30. We'll be asking our questions with regards to the fallout of Barcelona and looking at his predicted 11 for Man United and looking at the tactics board again. But it should be a really, really good chat. Knows his stuff on football. And we'll get his thoughts on Newcastle and what he thinks as well. So lots to come. And as I said, a couple of other shows lined up as well. So keep tuned on social medias for that. But Johnny, just before you go, where can we find you? I know you've mentioned it before as well. Yourself, Sam, Lee, and the gang.
Yeah, so Newcastle Fans TV, we've got loads and loads of videos over the next few days and weeks leading up to the final. We've got a couple of special videos coming out. I'll not spoil too much, but they'll be out in the next 24, 48 hours. We've just released a video today about what's happened to the team of '99 who played in the last Cup final for Newcastle. Of course, it was against Manchester United at the old Wembley. Obviously faced them in the new Wembley. So make sure you give that video a watch. And of course, the Greenwood and Mulliner Show podcast. We've got Sam's in conversation with Cameron Norrie tomorrow, which will be out on a podcast which was out on YouTube a couple of days ago. And we've got a Carabao Cup special as well. So over 130 episodes, to make sure you get involved and have a little look and see if there's any ones that you like in particular with the Greenwood and Mulliner Show podcast. But I think every channel is going to be doing so many different videos. But if you can drop us a like and subscribe to the channel, it'd be greatly appreciated.
And the link is in the hyperlink on the show. So just click that and subscribe. Right there.
Jordan, where can we find you? We already know, but for everyone else.
Yeah, so newcastleworld.com. Lots of news on Newcastle as a city, but a lot from myself and Liam Kennedy on the football club. Obviously, the biggest game in a lot of years leading up this week, a lot of build-up, so we'll have all of that. With a media day tomorrow. Newcastle United are hosting a media day tomorrow. So they actually sent the invite out last week. And I don't know if they tempted fate here, but the players that were up for interview was Nick Pope, who I think there might be changing that one. Kieran Trippier and Dan Burn. We'll also be speaking to Eddie Howe tomorrow. So lots of video content from that. Obviously, lots of quotes to type up. So please do tune in for that tomorrow. And just also across the week as well, we'll have lots of different bits of content going up, interviews with former players, etc. So, watch out for that. Leading up to a big Sunday where hopefully we're all celebrating on Sunday night.
Hopefully.
Definitely. And give Jordan a follow on social media. His Twitter handle is on the description that you can see on the screen right now. Lads, it's been a pleasure. Daz, I don't know if you want to sign us out for the evening.
Yep, lads, enjoy the game, and when the chat is going, enjoy the game. So we're back. You'll find us during the week. How'd you like that?
How you like